Hello, welcome. This is Maniac Tim from Maniac Sports. And yeah, Lions fan. And of course, a lot of you guys know that I'm more than Lions fan. I am a total football fan. I also like other sports. I like the Detroit Red Wings. I really like to see them get better like they were when they um, Eiserman days and when Fedorov and they brought people in. But one thing we seem to have right now is a abundance of football. Uh, and to me, that's just a good thing. That's a great thing. Uh, Football 24/7 is my motto. I know that's not for everybody, and it doesn't have to be, but if you could have football, if you could have play the um, bone crushing sport of football, or have a quality football uh, 365 days a year, that would be awesome in my book. But of course, we have other sports too. But one thing, we have choices now. Of course, NFL will always be the master league, the league that has been time trialed and actually delivered a lot. The closest thing you got to a rivalry in the NFL is and a rivalry as far as um, to rival the watching of the NFL would be, of course, college football. None of the other leagues that we currently have even comes close to what you got in TV contracts and in player salaries or anything else. But the tried, true, and tested, the time, true, and tested of the NFL. So that's one thing that we have had that has been consistent with the NFL. I want to thank anybody for coming in and watching. Yeah, I know this is my second stream of today, and what I want to look at, in your opinion, okay, in my opinion, you can't have too much football. That's my opinion. All right, and I mean, yeah, the more football you have, the more leagues you have, the more watered down the talent is going to be in those other leagues. Salaries cannot, in the XFL, in the United States Football League, and in I know you really don't have the main arena league like you used to, but you do have a form of arena football too. Uh, and we actually have one right here in Muskegon, Michigan, called the West Michigan Wildcats, or the West Michigan Ironman Wildcats. I don't know how I got so far off from that name, but the West Michigan Ironman in Muskegon, Michigan. They play at the Mercy Health. No, actually, it's not even the Trinity Health Arena, which was, anybody who's been around in Muskegon for years, like I have, will always consider that the house that Walker built, the LC Walker Arena. Um, Now, in West Michigan, you have had a few different arena leagues. Um, we had the Thundercat, or the Thunderhawks a long time ago. That was like in like the 80s. That played in the LC Walker Arena before. You also had the Grand Rapids Rampage, uh, which was part of the major arena league before they actually shut down the first time, went into bankruptcy and stuff like that. Uh, but one former quarterback from the St. Louis Rams was once stated saying, before he played for Arena League, that arena football was not real football, because arena football is, of course, played in arena just like what your NBA basketball would be played in. It's a half field, 25 feet long, or 25 yards long, or 25 yards wide, 50 yards long. Uh, but it was it was not much of a defensive game, but it was more of a offensive type game that was set. You had a lot of you have a lot of two-way players, more or less. A lot you don't see of that in the NFL. You don't have the offense and defensive that play on both sides of the ball. You may have one once in a while, but you had that in the Arena League. But if it wouldn't have been for the Arena League, Kurt Warner would have never really got to be, the starting quarterback of the St. Louis Rams at the time. So and won that Super Bowl title. So you got to thank the Arena League. But way back, there was two leagues that may have been able to at one point in time given the NFL a run for the money, and this was one league folded and was actually absorbed by the NFL, and that would have been, of course, the AFL. When the merger came, it was one league failing, and then they ended up merging, forming the Super Bowl later on. And then, of course, anybody who was around in the 80s, mid 80s, or early to mid 80s, we've seen the rising of the rise and fall of the United States Football League, the original United States Football League. And I know I have talked about this before, so this is nothing new. And I know from Detroit Lions on Pro, I know Kurt Steele was around in that, and of course my former co-founder of Detroit Lions on the Prowl too. And, we used to watch the Michigan Panthers back then and stuff like that too. So it was just a league that was more before its time. But at that point, the NFL salaries were not what they are now, not near, not close. You didn't have free agency. You didn't have, people that could jump ship from team to team. So what they did when the USFL got started was it gave competitiveness to competitive wages for the players. So a lot of your NFL players at that time, and a lot of your more well-named players, that might have not been on the best team, were jumping ship. Like Brian Sipe, former Cleveland Brown quarterback, he ended up going to the USFL. Anthony Carter, he never played for an NFL. Well, he did play for the NFL after the United States Football League started, but he never jumped ship, from the NFL to go to the United. But he went directly from college to the United States Football League, the Michigan Panthers. Another one, couple of quarterbacks that got their start in the USFL would be, of course, probably the most famous one would have been Jim Kelly. He started with the Houston Gamblers. And also you got to look at Steve Young. He started with the LA Express. Then you also got to look at Bobby Hebert, who played for the Saints, but ended up starting, his career started as a Michigan Panthers, as a Michigan Panther. And of course, the most well-known first year one would have been, of course, Herschel Walker, which ended up starting for running back for the New York, New Jersey Generals, but ended up going to the NFL after they folded. So, and as stated before in one of my previous broadcasts a long time ago, that the NFL Players Association used that to go ahead and actually prove that if you had competition, that that it was not fair to the players to lock them up, and so it was used to promote and to create a free agency. And actually it was, it helped the players. The United States Football League actually helped the Players Association, even though it was defunct at the time of the suit, helped the Players Association to win the lawsuit, and actually was granted free agency, where there was a compromise made between the players union and the NFL in order to bring in free agents on what we know now, free agency, and skyrocketing salaries and better for all players. Of course, TV money back then wasn't like it is now. Uh, Basically, once you had, the only thing that the, a team, if the money wasn't right, uh, the players only, before free agency, the only thing they could do would be to sit out, withhold their services from the fans or from the team that own their rights, or kind of demand a trade and stuff like that. But there was so much power that the owner had back then over the lives of the players, and so the NFL salaries have a lot to thank for the starting of the first United States Football League, the USFL. But they only lasted 3 years, and as I'm sure a lot of people around that time remember, was what happened was they ended up going the first year. After their first year, they were successful. They added 5 teams, and then they ended up voting to go and try to play football in the fall, because they were a spring league like they are now. When they started out in their first 2 years, 3 years, they played in the spring, but their fourth year they were supposed to go and start in the welcome to Maniac Sports. This is Maniac Tim, but the fourth year they were supposed to go and play, in the NFL time slots, but they could not get a TV contract. So that's basically what allowed the franchise or the league to fold. But through that, the players was able to eventually, years afterwards, get free agency, and that is the big money game that we got now. Back then, you only had basically three networks that broadcast. There wasn't really ESPN or anything like that back then. You had, and there wasn't a Fox back then either. You had NBC, ABC, and CBS. ABC had Monday Night Football. Monday Night Football was, at first started out, it used to be just a taped game, but now, of course, ABC doesn't have that anymore. Now ESPN has Monday Night Football. Amazon has Thursday Night Football. You never had Thursday Night Football back then. Every once in a while you might get a game. But, when Fox came in, they went ahead and they kicked out, more or less, took the contract over from CBS, because CBS used to have the rights to all the NFC games, where NBC back then used to have rights to all the AFC games. Then They were warned that another player was going to come in, and Fox ended up taking the NFC games away from the CBS. CBS went without football for a while, then ended up outbidding the outbidding NBC for the rights, of the AFC games. So then CBS was back in the picture. Then later on, NBC was of course out, and they ended up coming back in with the Sunday night football game. Or yeah, Sunday night was what they brought in, and they actually brought in Thursday night every once in a while too. So that's a little brief history as I remember it. But back to what this broadcast is more about. In your opinion, do you think there's, and you guys are entitled to your opinions, no matter how wrong they may. No, I'm joking around about it, but you guys are entitled to your opinion. Now, me, I like some of the aspects that I have seen in the XFL. I have shared this before. I like and I love the fact that they have made the game more competitive until the end. You more or less do not know who the winner is until the end of the game. I mean, there's ways to catch up. Uh, of course, you cannot. Anybody in the NFL really knows that you got either a 1 point or 2 point conversion, where if you go ahead and you kick, you have the 1 point. After the touchdown, you can kick and you get 1 point. Well, on the XFL, you can either get 1, 2, or 3 points depending on how far back you kick, or how far back you kick. If you get in the end zone after the second try, after your touchdown, excuse me. So you can get from uh, a touchdown, an extra points can be worth, actually 9 points instead of 7. So it can go from 9 points real easily. But of course, you got to get that. Another thing that I really love about the XFL, there are two things that I love about the XFL, and I would really love to see adopted in the NFL. And my number one thing that I want to see adopted in the NFL, or taken from the adopted, we'll just say adopted, brought into the NFL, is that you get the fans should have the right to see why a decision is not overturned or turned, when they look at the play to see if the call on the field was right. Because there's no, I like the way they explain why this was a touchdown or why it was not a touchdown, why it was holding, why it shouldn't have been a holding. It it makes it more transparent. I would love to see that. That's one thing that I want to see in the transfer from the. I want to see the NFL adopt that rule or that transparency to the fans. Another thing I would love to see is that once a game, all right, is that in the XFL, all right, you can, no matter what, all right, you can go ahead and challenge a call that was not a call, you felt was a non-call, like holding, or you could, and it doesn't matter what it is. If it's holding, if it's pass interference that should have been called, that shouldn't have been called, you can do that once a game. All right. So I would like to see them adopt that rule. Now, another thing that I think is great in the XFL that I like to see, and I don't know, I would, that I only seen him one time because I cannot say I watched every XFL game. I don't. There's not a Michigan team, so if there was a Michigan team in XFL, I would probably try to watch that team every game it aired. You know, so but there's not a Michigan team in the XFL, so I'm not gonna. I mean, I do. Um, my time off isn't always, is short, so I'm not going to spend all my, especially when I only get one day off, I'm not going to spend it all day in front of that TV watching. I, in a way, I should because if I'm a dedicated football fan. But what I would like to see is you do got the option instead of onside kick to go ahead and after you score either a touchdown or field goal, if I'm right, you can, and I think this only once a game too. You can go ahead and elect to keep it, keep the ball possession, but it's like fourth down and 15. So you get one try to go ahead and try to make a first down. Now, what I would really fear though is that if I mean, we all know how Dan Campbell is. Okay, we all know how he likes going for on fourth down. He changed a little bit, at the end. All right, but if the deal would have been out of reach, all right, with the normal way, instead of going for an onside kick, would you go ahead and want to see that fourth and 15 rule in like the NFL? After you score a touchdown. So, hey, leave your comments. I would appreciate your comments. Leave them on either on the Facebook, um, in the show, whatever. If you want to see some of these rules added, also let me know what brings out the maniac in you. I have explained, basically it's a phantasm that gets you excited. So, when I say what brings out, hey, leave comments. Hey, that's, and hey, maybe my way of thinking might bring out the maniac in some people too, you know, uh, because I believe the Lions should crush the Packers every day. That's one thing that I want to see. But yeah, football, to me, right? Yeah, and this month is going to be a time where we actually have the XFL and the NFL will be playing, both in April. So, April 15th, the not XFL, not the NFL, but XFL and the United States Football League will be playing the USFL. They don't play each other and stuff like that, and that's. But you're going to see the USFL, the Michigan Panthers, is going to be playing. They're playing at Ford Field this year. I don't know if I was a Lion, I don't know if I would like that another team gets to play on my new field surface before I do. So I don't know if I would like that. But as far as I'm going to try to go to a USFL game, at least one this year, to go see the Michigan Panthers play at Ford Field. I really, really want to see that. I really want. I mean, that's something that I want to. I want to see a United States Football League game live, and of course, if I do, I'll try to do some show during halftime or something or before it. But we're going to get to see in like another week or so where the United States Football League is going to be back playing and stuff like that. And then the XFL is going to be entering the playoffs. Now, one of the ideas that I have had, and this is nothing new, but they would need to change their time, and actually the XFL and the USFL. I would like to see them get a working agreement and I would really like to see their two champions play each other. Whoever wins in the XFL, but it can't happen this year, that's for sure, because the times are too different, and it wouldn't be fair, to try to put that together this late. But I would like to see the United States Football League champion play the XFL champion for like a title of the both leagues. That would kind of be like like a mini Super Bowl in a way. So if you had that. So if these two, I'm just thinking, if those two leagues started to work together, that would make them a stronger league. Now it would, and what's your guys' thoughts on that? Would you like to see the? I mean, I know one of my friends at work, uh, he said that was a great idea to see those two franchises, those two leagues working together and actually going ahead and um, playing each other for a ultimate champion. But in a way, sometimes you diminish your league by having, take a little bit of it takes a little bit of prestige from your championship, because like it would be kind of like the AFC championship and the NFC championship. You know, you got your Super Bowl champs. Except you would have the XFL champions playing the United States champions for the ultimate title, or whatever you want to call it. I don't know. But what's your thoughts on that? And what's your thoughts on I know a lot of people didn't like the way the USFL was last year. I, I expect, last year, I, the main thing that I didn't like last year, okay, there was two main things that I didn't like about the USFL last year, is that none of the games were close enough for me to see because you didn't play in your own city. Everybody played in Arkansas, or in one stadium, and that was Birmingham. Everybody played in Birmingham Stadium, and that's that's where you played. So to me, it gave, but that was the way the league voted. But now you got different stadiums. Unfortunately, every home team is not playing in their home city, which is a little unfair to that city, I think. I mean, because you got two cities playing in Detroit. So, where I think if you're if you're in your own city, you should play at your own city. But, it takes getting, getting getting facilities to play for this. To facilities to play at. So, but hey, I'm hoping the Michigan. Another thing I didn't like is that the Michigan Panthers kind of sucked last year. Where their first year, and I mean it was downfall, but the first original, and everybody heard that before. Anybody who knows me heard this before. The original USFL, you only have one first time champions, and that was the Michigan Panthers. You know, and the original one. Not so much last year. Last year, I think Michigan only won one or two games. So that's something there too. But hey, thank you guys for tuning into Tim's Maniac Sports. I do appreciate it. Let me know what you think. As far as for the three different leagues that we got now, actually, there are more leagues. There's actually four leagues. If you count the Arena Football League, is Arena Football real football in your eyes, in your opinion? Uh, is Uh, and also you have the Canadian Football League, the CSL. And then you also have, of course, college football. As far as for fans stuff, the main competitor, the main two leagues as far as for fans, are the NFL and also college, because I mean those stadiums are packed, so you cannot argue that point as far as you know what are the main leagues. Hey, and I do want to give props to the city of St. Louis for supporting the St. Louis Battle Cats um, in the XFL, because hey, they that like 35,000 fans or something like that. That's pretty darn good. In the XFL. Now that everybody knows this is the third time around for the XFL. Some of the history that I gave before as far as for, due to a bad deal that was made with NBC on the first XFL, it only lasted one season the first time. The second time, it didn't even last the whole season because COVID hit. So this is the third restart of the XFL, and hey, we'll get to see if it lasts more than one season this time. I think it will. I think it has built a following. If it keeps on going, it can build a bigger following, and I do think that it got good ownership. That's one thing that really, really helps out. Although I would really like to see a working agreement of some kind with the United States Football League, because I just think if you combine the two assets, you make their leagues, each league stronger, and it just makes you grow a bigger fan base. Now I think New Orleans has um, teams in both cities. Houston, I know has teams in both leagues. So I don't know how exactly that would work out. So there'd be a lot of things that would need to change and stuff like that. As far as I just don't know if they had that working. But shoot, why not? Why not? And everybody knows how Texas teams like their football. Hey, I know there's like I think in XFL there's like 3 Texas teams or something like that, because you got Houston, Arlington, and another Texas team. And then of course you have the Houston Gamblers. And the United States Football League in Texas. So yeah. But once again, thank you guys for watching. I've been on here 30 minutes just rambling on. And as far as I'm trying to actually get some merchandise. If anybody wants a Tim's Maniac Sports t-shirts, we're going to look at trying to get some of that on for people to buy at a reasonable price. And I'm also looking to get personalized sayings put on them, like this brings out the maniac in you, release the beast, stuff like that, where you can personalize what you want on it. I think that would be great. And who knows, if things grow enough, I might go ahead and make it where you can sign up and maybe have some deals to win some of these shirts or merchandise or whatever. My dream is I want to connect with the fans. I don't want this, I want Tim's Maniac Sports to be different. I don't want to just be analyzing all the time. I mean, I want it to be an interactive uh, sports show where you, the fan, speak up. You tell me what makes what brings out the maniac in you. You tell me why why you are why you like your team, why you're the sports fanatic. I don't care if you're I don't care if you're a Packer fan. I don't care if you're if you're a Bears fan. I don't care if you hate the Lions. Of course, we do gotta be respectful to. In a way, I don't want this to be a all out cussing event, but I do want to open shows up, and there might be one show where we just focus on like the Lions. There might be another show where we just focus on like the Bears or the Cowboys or whatever your team is, or even focus on the Detroit Red Wings. Now, one of the things, the Avalanche, focusing on stuff like that, yeah, who would, and I know the Avalanche is, of course, hockey, you know, uh, and it can also be school act, college athlete, Michigan versus Michigan State, uh, Michigan versus Ohio State. If you're an Ohio State fan, I have no use for you. I'm just joking, of course, but no, whatever your team is, I mean, hey, we have, Ohio State has been up there for years, lately, and I know that we gave them a couple sucker punches the last couple of years, so this is something that Michigan is finally getting back, and for years, Michigan, the Michigan Wolverines were bad. Now, hey, we got for years. Then Ohio State just kind of went ahead and took that away from us for quite a few years. But now they're coming back. Now Michigan is being a force to be reckoned with again. Then you have Michigan State with throws monkey wrenches into there's some teams that just got some teams numbers, if you know what I'm saying, and there's sometimes and and I guess this brings out the maniac in me in the wrong way, all right, is that when there just seems to be that team that you're better than, all right, you're better than that team, but somehow your team goes ahead and messes up and loses to that other team, you know and it's that's frustrating as heck. So, but hey, things like that happen in sports. On paper is not always what it is. Shows results, and also what you guys think about, and people, people's. Uh, is it a good thing that college athletes can now actually make money? Now, you know what I think is more fair to the athletes. You know, I think it. In my opinion, what happens? Why is it that only universities for so many years could make money off them? The coaches, everybody else could go ahead and make money off them. But if a college athlete goes ahead and uh, ends up getting hurt in that game and his career is up, and that program made money off him so many times during that year. The coach made money off him. Why doesn't that person deserve to be paid for what happened to them? Because hey, they gave, you know, they got injured because of the game, you know. So in my opinion, this finding ways for college athletes to make money legally, hey, that's great. Of course, I don't want to see the gambling, the influence, and all that other stuff. And there's another thing that I am going to touch on. I don't want to uh, deal too much in it, uh, but I do want to say, uh, as far as in, you know, to me, a win is only a win if it's actually done credible. All right. You know, I mean, if you need a head start in order to win a race, then you're really not the winner. And in saying that, I know everybody knows what I'm saying. And yes, there will be mistakes made because people are human. All right. People are human. So there will be mistakes made by the officials. But there needs to be a way to correct those mistakes when they are made. And compensation. They need to be able to compensate the team that the mistake was made against. You know. So and that is one of the main reasons why I do want to see the NFL adopt that rule where, and actually, all sports. I want to see the NBA. I want to see the NHL. I want to see soccer and everyone. Adopt that rule. Adopt that rule where you get to see why that play was not overturned or why that touchdown that was taken away, why it stands, why it doesn't stand. Uh, was it good? Where the refs that are looking at it are actually explaining to you, because what does it do? It To me, it gets credibility to that game. It gives credibility to that game, to the winner. It gives it, and it takes it out, because if something needs to be hidden to be achieved, then is it really achieved in the right way? You know, that's what I'm saying. You know, but in saying that, I know I've been rattling on, hey, for quite a while here. I do want to thank whoever is still watching. I am looking forward to seeing the. I'm looking forward to seeing the Michigan Panthers play in the Ford Field this year. Now, their first game at Ford Field will actually be a away game. I think it's Philadelphia that plays, who's also calls the Ford Field home. So, hey, is what it is. But in saying that, I'm just gonna say goodbye. Thank you guys for watching. I do really appreciate it. I'm always looking for guests for my show. I do want to I promise I'm going to try to get a schedule that works where I'm actually on at least a couple, 3 days a week where I'm on, and you guys will know when to tune in. It's not going to be this time though, usually, because every other Saturday I usually gotta work. So it's not gonna be at 9 p.m. I am a second shifter. But I do, I don't know. I got, it's probably going to be something on third shift. I mean, I would really like to get something going on first too. Like maybe a 10 o'clock show. I think that would be great. Okay, I don't want to go 11 because Detroit Lions on Pro. I know I have not been on Detroit Lions on Pro for 3 weeks now. I have had things going on where I couldn't be. I still support that team, that I still support them, and I'm going to try to be on it. Free for All Friday, I'm going to try to be on it this coming up Friday. But I do need to concentrate on getting my show off the ground. You know, many people don't know this, but I don't make a dime from Detroit Lions on the Prowl. So, and I'm not, I'm co-founder, but I don't make a dime. So if you guys think that when I'm not there, and I'm not holding anything against it, but it's and that's not why I have not been there. I told Jim that I would refer anything, long time ago. So, but I want to make my show work too. So, shoot, I probably shouldn't say that. But Detroit Lions, Maniac Sports, I thank you for watching me, for taking time out. Make sure you guys tune in. I will try to. I don't know if I'll be on tomorrow Easter or not. I will have impromptu shows definitely. But I'm going to work on a schedule as far as where I'm going to be there and be able to do a show for you guys, and you guys will know this is. I'm also looking for, like I said, I'm looking for guests. I want to see guests, and I want to hear your stories. I mean, even if there's a way, I want to set up a way where I can tape. And if you guys want to leave a comment as far as on what you love about your sport, on what brings out the maniac in you and your sport, in your team, I will also read those on the air too. And it can even be a player. It can be a player. It can be it can be a certain play. It can be a few things. What bring heck. If I was a Bears fan, it would have been hey, 1985 Bears. Going ahead and taking a march all the way to win the Super Bowl, and actually then going to play this, in the Super Bowl too. If I would have been a Packer fan, if I was a Packer fan, I would be saying, hey, yeah, here you had, two great quarterbacks, one right after each other, that one hand and play, heck, you go ahead and replace, Brett Favre with Aaron Rodgers, and hey, there's not even no change. They're still the dominant one in the NFC North. And that's one thing. Hey, and I'll tell you what, you have a right to be proud of your teams. You have a right. Whoever your team is, you have a right. And in my book, if your team was cheated out of victory, no matter who your team is, if your team was cheated out of victory, you have a right to be mad about that too. Because I know the Lions are not the only team that gets cheated out of victories. I know that. And I'm not, I wasn't born yesterday that way. So I do know that. And, you have and if there's, hey, it is what it is. But, there are ways to make things better. There are ways to change things. And to me, accountability. Who holds the refs and the NFL accountable when they make a mistake that causes a team to lose or another team to win. Who holds the NFL accountable? Why do I say NFL accountable? Because the NFL are the ones that pay the refs, that pay the police to say, because the NFL is basically the police or the refs are basically the police, the judge, the jury, and a lot of times the executioner of 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 the uh, of the cause. You know, yeah. Should there be? Should there? Okay, here's the extreme way of doing this. Should the NFL have somebody that's watching every game? All right, dedicated people that's watching every game that can go ahead and call up and can say that was the wrong call and reverse that decision. You know, would how would that work? You know, once the game is over, I do not see. You know, I know one at the end. Anybody who knows Jim, who knew Jim when he was around, you know, uh, one of the things that Jim always said that should happen, you know, is but this would be a nightmare to actually make happen. But he thought that if there's a bad call that changes the game, that the game should be continued from the time that was left on the clock and played from that time, and that game should be continued. Uh, in other words, change the results of the win and loss, but let that game be played with the call being corrected. That's why. That's one of his ideas because that's one of the things that we talked about. Because I'll tell you, bad calls, non-calls, stuff like that. Hey, he was fanatical about a lot of that stuff. He did not like to see any. And I'll tell you what, he was also that way if the Lions were to win due to a bad call too. So it was not. Oh, we got away with one. You know, we got it was not. Oh yeah, we got away. We won that game. No, if he thought that it shouldn't have been done that way, he would say, yeah, that we won, but we shouldn't have won. You know, but once again, thank you guys. I've been talking and rattling on for an hour now, man. You know, I just really kind of aired out my soul here a little bit. You know, I'll you only have a couple weeks before maybe there's only one more week. No, it's week 8. Week 8 this week. I think it's a 10-week season. Then the XFL starts their playoffs. And so you only have 2 more weeks left after this week before the XFL starts their playoffs. And there's already teams that have been eliminated and stuff like that too. So all right. Well, I'm just going to say goodbye. Good night. Thank you, everybody. Be sure to share this video. Be sure to give me comments. You can go ahead and comment on this. You can go ahead and go to Tim's Maniac Sports Facebook. That too. I mean, I'll try to visit that even more than what I do now. Go ahead and comment. Give me your comments on what you think. Number 1, what brings out the maniac in you? And also tell me who your favorite team is, why, who your favorite player is, why. What do you think about all these 3 or these Yeah, well, the three major leagues that we got right now. Uh, what do you think about them? Well, guys, let me know if you guys want to be a guest. I will set it up where you can be a guest. No matter what team you are, you will be treated with, or whatever team fan you are, you will be treated with respect. I am gonna try to catch up on who I don't think I'll do per se a mock draft like some of these other shows do. But you know what? I want your input on what you think. Who you think the Lions should draft? Who do you guys think? Who do you think they're going to draft? And has Brad Holmes finally learned to go ahead and put the brakes on before don't rush your answer up to the podium, you know, appease the NFL a little bit, because they're your bosses. So, but hey, thanks again. This is Maniac Tim signing off. You guys have a happy Easter. All right.